Hello, I'm back again. Okay, as you can see, hopefully, I'm back at machining, and as you can see there, I hope, is the cutter, and I'm using a C2 insert for cast iron, and this material is so damned hard that it was okay machining, but once you start getting to drilling holes and tapping that hole, it becomes very, very iffy, if that's the word. It's pretty scary stuff, really, to go through all this machining, the time, and then to get to the final stages, and you come to the part where you could scrap the job. It was pretty difficult. What happened eventually was that when I had it set up in the versatile dividing head, I spotted the hole with a center drill, and that just made a little spot, and then I changed over to a 104 drill bit for a 540 socket screw. And the reason for that was that when the inserts came, the screws were in there as well, and they were 440 flathead, but they had the Torx screwdriver or driver. And I did, several years ago, I bought a set of Torx screwdrivers, and I had them just for one special job, and I've put them away somewhere, and I spent 2 hours, at least 2 hours, searching for these damn things. And in the end I got so fed up with it that I decided to use a 540 socket head screw. So anyway, getting back to drilling, I had it set up and I spotted it, and then I went to use a 104 drill bit for the 540 tapping, and the drill just wouldn't look at it. I was scared I was going to break it, because on here you only have the Z-axis, only that's all you have is the lead screw, and you've got no feel. So anyway, I happen to have, a long time ago where I worked, they used to use these, I think they're called FC3s. They're 3-flute throwaway end mills, and I had one. This is the type of little throwaway end mills they are, just high speed. So anyway, they got the 3-flute, and so I changed over to that, and I had a 764, which is 109.109. So I decided that would be okay, because it would just give me a little bit less of a thread, but it would still be strong enough. So anyway, I put that in there, and it cut through here like a piece of butter. It was beautiful. The cuttings were coming out in little twirls, and it really did the trick nicely. But then I set the 540 taps in, and lined it up with the hole. Like it was already lined up, but placed it in the hole and started tapping, and I used the number 1 tap, which is the tapered tap, and got that going. Then decided to rather than use this, because again you can't gauge the depth that the thread is going, the lead. So I took it out and sat over there, and still in the 4-jaw chuck, and I started to hand tap it, and it kind of went okay at first, and then it started making nasty noises, so I changed the tap over to a number 2, which has a slightly less taper on it, and I call them 1, 2 and 3. So I used number 2, and that went down a little bit further, and then that started making nasty noises. Almost got jammed in there, like welded together kind of thing. And these were brand new taps. And then I went through the process again, 1, 2, 3, and I managed to get the about 6 threads in the holder, and as you can see, there's the hole coming out that side. If that helps, I don't know. Might be a bit better. And so anyway, I eventually got it, and I didn't have any flat heads, so I used a socket head, and it's working okay. I think that's what Randy actually used on his. I think he used a socket head. So the 540 is a real nice fit in the on the screw thread, because they're practically the same diameters, and so it fits nicely on there, and there's no gap on this face. It sits nicely up against that face, so there's lots of support there. And I've started doing the dovetail on the first dovetail on the front face, and it's cutting okay. What I did was I worked from the top down, and I just blacked the face as I was going down, and just went down in steps and moved the y-axis into the cutter. And I've now got to the stage where I'm almost on my last cut. Well, I won't say last cut, but the last part of finishing off the dovetail. So once I've done the dovetail and got that completed, I'll put a end mill up in there and give a lip of about, I guess about 15-20 thou along that front edge to get away from the sharp edge, and for when you're mating this edge with the piece that goes on top with the dovetail, you don't want a sharp corner there. You've got to relieve that edge. So that's what I'm actually doing now, and so I guess I'll take a cut. I've been taking a cut in both directions. I'm running the holder at about 1000 RPM, roughly. So I've already got down to my depth, but to take a full cut. This face here, this bottom face, the flat face, it's like a piece of glass, and hopefully that's what the dovetail will be as well, like a piece of glass. It's working out pretty good. So I've got readings on my x-axis to that face, that flat face, and I've also got my reading. I've also got my reading for where I left off at the bottom. So I have to go down now and move the cutter in until it blends with the face that I've just done. So I'll start the machine up, and I'll take a cut back just to make sure that it's going to clean, it's going to finish it off. I guess it's more or less just polishing. I did change the cutter around to a new position just a little while ago, so I think it's going to be okay. Hope so. Certainly this is a better proposition with the carbide. I don't think a HSS cutter would have even lasted at all. I think it would have been almost worn out. Of course, it would have been running at a slower speed as well, but one of the reasons why I'm doing it by hand, I could have done it on the Mac 3 CNC, but with the computer that I'm using, the Mac 3, it keeps on indicating a low memory, and every now and again I have to reset the control because it switches off, and I was worried that if it did that, it might automatically go up to the safe position, which is ½ inch, and that would be fatal on here. Oh, by the way, the cutter is, I used the 609 Loctite for the cutter. What I did was I put 3 grooves about 2 thou deep in the holder, and then I put the 609 on, and then slid it up and distributed the Loctite around, and I left it overnight, so it's doing okay. And really this is a situation where I probably will never take this out, or if I do, I'll have to heat it up, but it's almost like a fixed adapter. I've got this one here as well. This is not, that's not Loctited in, but I put some Loctite on the screw because that started working loose. So I'm just gonna take another. What I do is I bring the Z up, because that way it doesn't take so much out, and I'm usually using about 5 thou. So I'm gonna use about maybe 2 thou, because it sounded as if it was kind of easing off at that end. So this should be the final cut in this position. continuous all the way along. Okay, so I think I can wind it down to 0. I wound it up about 100 thou before I made contact, so I should touch on here at 0, but I'm not going to go right down to 0. It's a big cut to take on a dovetail cutter on that blade, so I'll bring it down to 4. Okay, switch that off for a minute. I need to mark this, mark the face that, don't tell me I'm running out of, maybe it's because it's like glass, eh? That'll do, that'll get me there, I guess. I'll put another one down here. Just okay, that'll do. So now I'm at 0. Okay, I can start up and I can put that in, and if I'm right I should be very close to 35. So I'll move it in 2.5. Down to 0. Just touching, I think. Try and Y in a little bit. In a bit more. If you can climb mill, it's better. A little bit more. Teeth out. Bit more. Bit more. Can't be much more.